Hello everybody and welcome to part 27 of What If Peter Parker, also known as Spider-Man, was in the My Hero Academia universe. If you've missed any of the previous parts, there will be a link in the description below and the annotation above to a playlist you can use. Also, if you enjoy this series and want to see more, let me know by either hitting that like button or in the comments below. I really like this series and want to see it continue, so please. I also have to say that the reason that this episode is coming out now, just a couple days after the previous one, is because I thought that it would be a fitting end for the first year of my channel. It's the series I started with, and it's gonna be the one I end the year with. I'm gonna say that this video contains spoilers for the Endeavour arc, so if you aren't catch up, don't watch it. In the previous episode, Peter returned from the multiversity event and settled back into his normal life. With other things happening at the same time, like UA getting robbed and the Japan Hero billboard chart being announced. It being a bit different from Marvel canon. Now in the stadium where these announcements were made, the announcer says, "The reason we held this sort of ceremony at this time is because we judged this to be a turning point. It's been 3 months since All Might's retirement, and word is circulating that we still lack a hero icon. The heroes who will shoulder our society's burdens going forward are all in this room together. They'll strive towards a better, more peaceful society." And now for the individual statements. The mic is given to Ryukyu and she says, "Thank you very much. However, the truth is that I have liked to decline this rank if possible. There were more lives that I could have saved. I will continue to strive to be a hero more befitting of my rank." Given the mic and says, "Thanks for the vote of confidence and for helping me reach the spot I'm currently at. I will try not to let you down and will try to uphold my mentor's ideals and be a hero everyone, even my daughter, can be proud of." Wash is then given the mic and says, "Wash!" Kamali Woods says, "I tend to work hard as part of an Edshot's team without bringing shame to my senpais." White Tiger says, "Honestly, I think holding a ceremony like this is a bit of a waste of time, but I'll indulge. My goals and duties have not changed. I will strive to protect everyone I can and to help in training the next generation of heroes." Mirko says, "Hey, all you scheming bad guys out there, get ready to be pummeled by me." The interviewer asks, "If rankings were purely based on approval ratings, you would have been number 3. Edjot says, "Numbers do not concern me. I'm grateful for the high approval that comes from my work, but I'm not doing this for fame. I believe that festering peace is the essence of heroism." Hogs interrupts and says, "Who cares about any of that?" Mirka says, "Damn, that was ballsy." Edjot adds, "As usual, you enjoy throwing everyone for a loop, don't you?" Hawks grabs the mic and says, "Hey, I'm just bad at keeping it in." He then starts flying into the sky and continues his speech. "Let's see. If we're going to by just approval ratings, Best Genius would be first due to his extra boosts of support during recovery. I would be second, Edshot third, Endeavour fourth, and so on. I think approval ratings are the most important metric. In this time to be clinging to the past. Is it still okay to uphold the status quo? We no longer have a symbol. We're people who can't even earn a higher rank than me, being so tame and subdued on a day that's supposed to deem a turning point. Please speak more like real heroes." The crowd starts mumbling and Hawks lands, finishing off, "That's all from me. So next in line with lower approval ratings than me, the number 1. Endeavour says, "Apart from what that novice just tried to stir up, there is not much to say. So, just watch me." Hawk starts clapping while the crowd goes silent. Later, behind the scenes, Endeavour grabs Hawks by the shirt. Hawks nervously says, "Sorry about the trouble." He then starts laughing nervously. Endeavour asks, "What was that all about, you little boy?" What was that all about, you little brat? Hawks answers, everyone just says the same old thing, so I thought a little extra impact was necessary. Endeavor lets him go and asks, you were testing me? Hawks answers, no way, I helped you out, didn't I? Didn't it all turn out well? Hawks then starts taking out his visor and continues speaking. I'm not even really an All Might fan. I've never once thought about trying to be like him. But regardless, I was still shocked by his retirement. I wouldn't say you're as an iconic presence as All Might was. However, I think having a new leader right now is absolutely necessary. I'm relieved. You were cool, you know? Endeavor asked, do you plan on becoming that leader? Hawks answers, do I look like I'm of that caliber? I would prefer to operate more freely in the lower 30. Endeavor says, I hate people like you the most. We're done talking. Go apologize to the other heroes. Hawks doesn't leave and adds, but now for the main question. Endeavor says, I'm not listening. Get out of my sight. Hawks continues, I requested a team up. Some unpleasant first-hand reports have been cropping up in my hometown recently. Do you remember the Nomus? A knock is then heard, snapping Endeavor out of it. Endeavor says, come in. White Tiger comes in and says, thank you. Sorry for eavesdropping, but I heard you got reports of seeing an Omu. If you don't mind, I would also like to join the investigation. I've been following some reports myself. Hawks thinks, can't let him screw up the operation, but at the same time I can't refuse. It would be suspicious and he wouldn't come, and Endeavor wouldn't come. Hawks says, it's his call. If no ones are so as dangerous as I've heard, then we will need as much help as we can get. Well, later, we don't know exactly how much later, so I'm going to say a couple of hours, Hawks, Endeavor, and White Tiger walk through a city. As they walk through the streets, Hawks stops a suicide bomber and asks, so, Endeavor, what's your favorite food? He points out a restaurant while the people praise him over his deed. Hawks continues, the hot pot over there is amazing. It's really delicious, I'm telling you. The chicken flavor really comes out well. They do really big portions though. Are you guys hungry? White Tiger says, I could eat. Hawks then saves a dog from being run over by using his quirk. He then says, I could also go for some yakitori. I bet you'll really dig Yakitomi's chicken liver. Hawks then helps out an elderly woman with her bag and starts talking to her other people. Taking selfies and other stuff. White Tiger also gets a couple of fans who walk towards him, so he interacts with them. Endeavor tries to give a fan his signature, but that only alienates the fan. Later, the heroes are now having lunch. Endeavor tells the story with the kid, and Hawks laughs and says, well, of course he'd say that to you. That's your character after all. Oh, if you're not gonna finish that, can I have it? White Tiger says, can we go halves? I wanted it too. Hawk says, sure, why not? Endeavor notes, you two are really big eaters, aren't you? White Tiger says, I'm a hunter. I require a lot of nourishment to be able to do my job correctly. Hawk says, well, for me it's just a part of my nature, I guess. If I see something, I just can't stop myself. I did it with the sports festival too. I put your sound down among my preferences. White Tiger says, so did I actually. Who wouldn't? Well, it's perfectly normal. I mean, who wouldn't want the number 2's son by their side? But I'm glad that it was Tsukuyomi who joined me. White Tiger asks, how so? Hawk says it's because Shoto's brand took a hit after he failed the provisional licensing exam. White Tiger says, is it really fair to judge for that? He's only a first year after all. Doing the exams is something they're not supposed to do yet. Hawk says, so what? He failed. Endeavor, annoyed, says, you know quite a bit for someone who never went to UA. Hawk says, my intel spans far and wide. Endeavor is about to say something when White Tiger interrupts him by saying, can we please get down to business now? I'm sure you didn't have us come to Kyushu for nothing. Let's discuss the Nomu sightings. Endeavor says, yes, let's talk about the modified human Nomus, the League of Villains Abominations. Hawks the League of Villains Abominations. Hawks then explains all of his information and White Tiger adds all that he knows himself. Endeavor asks, "So all you have is a rumor? Since you asked for a team-up, I thought you would have some more concrete evidence." White Tiger says, "But they're countrywide. Something of a pretty big scale could be stirring behind the scenes." Endeavor tries to leave, dismissing it, but Hawks then starts talking a bit more. He ends with the sentence, "I want to create a world where heroes have more free time than they know what to do with." Endeavor then looks out the window. White Tiger gets a weird feeling. The woman of the restaurant comes in to deliver their check. White Tiger screams, "Get down, ma'am!" and jumps on top of her, protecting her as the high-end Nomu crashes through the window. He asks, "Which is the strongest one here?" Endeavor says, "White Tiger, Hawks, lead the evacuation." White Tiger grabs the woman and says, "Got it." Hawks asks. Endeavor says, "So it wasn't a rumor. My, what great timing this beast has. Oh, no matter. In any case, I came specifically for this." He then screams out, "Bright scorching fist! Jet burn!" punching the Nomu into the middle of the air. The number 1 hovers in the middle of the sky and says, "Come, I'll show you what the number 1 looks like." The evacuation begins, and for a moment Hawks looks outside and asks, "Endeavor, can you fly?" Endeavor says, "I can stop myself from falling. Keep your guard up." This guy is still moving. The high-end then heals from the attack and asks, "Did you think you could kill me with this? This is kind of fire?" Endeavor sees it heal and thinks for a moment, recalling previous battles against the modified humans. The Nomu asks, "Are you strong?" His brilliant scorching fist helps Spider attack while saying, "It talks it alive and get information out of it." This attack sends the Nomu back, but it counterattacks by slamming Endeavor into the building. He crashes through the restaurants inside, coming out the other end of the building. Endeavor starts pushing back using his fire. The high-end, however, starts moving through the building, cutting it in half. The building then starts falling, with many heroes running to the scene. The people then start falling off the building. Flying off, in fact. Being moved by Hawks' feathers, using the feathers he managed to evacuate all 76 victims plus White Tiger. Once all the civilians are safe, Hawks flies towards Endeavor carrying White Tiger. White Tiger screams, "Endeavor!" Hawks says, "All 76 victims have been evacuated. What is that, your final move?" Endeavor whispers, "Impossible." Hood says, "Interesting," as he flies. The building is then destroyed as he flies. The building is then destroyed, burned into tons of smaller debris by Endeavor's attack. The debris then start falling onto the city. Hawks throws White Tiger to a nearby roof before falling himself. He sent all of his feathers to catch as much debris as possible, not having enough feathers left to fly. Hawks tries to evade some of the debris and says, "The rubble you made is too coarse. Couldn't you have cut it into a bit more even pieces?" White Tiger starts jumping on the debris, making his way towards the Nomu, slashing at him with some retractable claws. He says, "I think the debris was perfect." Endeavor shouts, Instead of talking, why don't you two focus on your movements?" Hawk says, "I told you if my feather count decreases too much, my flying abilities get worse." In the street below, some debris starts falling, and a 16-year-old girl wearing a Miss Marvel shirt arm pushing an elderly woman out of the way of the debris. Some heroes off the street use their quirks to attack the Nomu from a distance. To keep them, the Nomu decides to use his quirk and sends out a bunch of weaker white Nomu. The white Nomu start attacking civilians. White Tiger jumps to the ground and Hawks flies down, but both of them taking down as many Nomu as they can. At this point in the street, a white Nomu attacks both the elderly woman and another man. The 16-year-old girl shouts, "Embiggen!" Her fist grows in size and she hits the Nomu away. The three of them then run away. The white Nomu runs after them, but White Tiger intercepts it, taking it down. Back in the air, the high-end asks, "Are you not gonna attack anymore? Or can you not attack anymore? In that case..." The high-end Nomu charges at Endeavor and continues, My the high-end Nomu charges at Endeavor and continues. My power, my new strength. Let me test it on you. Report in the streets. One Betty Prant starts reporting on the current events. The Nomu hits Endeavor with all its force and says, I don't have time to run or recuperate. Burn up and simmer down. He shouts, Prominent burn! Remembering his previous words as he releases all the power he can. The Nomu is almost burned to a crisp. Only one piece of him left, but he starts healing. The Nomu attacks again and says, Too bad. As Endeavor is hit, Hawk shouts, Endeavor! Endeavor was hit in the eye, cutting it, with blood dripping over it. He then falls to the ground, barely alive and barely holding on. The high-end lands next to him and says, Wrong hero around? The high-end looks away, hearing panic and a helicopter, searching for a stronger opponent. Endeavor then jumps back into attack, going in to blast the high-end, but before he can, it hits back, while saying, Too slow. Endeavor is treated like a ragdoll, being hit against anything and everything breaking around them. Every building, everything. Endeavor gets back up, however. The high-end leaves in search of another fight, and to cause more destruction. But Endeavor rockets after him. The Nomu turns and says, So you have regeneration too? Endeavor hits the Nomu and shouts, You won't take me down so easily. I'll find a way to prevail, even with this cloudy vision of mine. I'll raise the firepower more, even more. I won't let you take me down this easily. Hawks then comes in, striking at the Nomu, with most of his feathers jumping onto Endeavor's back. An opaque spirit-formed white tiger, the actual animal, then flies through the air, jumping into Endeavor. Quick note about White Tiger's quirk. His quirk is called Spirit Animal. This power allows him to use his spirit animal, in this case an albino white tiger, and use it to boost his own stats. He can also lend it to other people in cases of emergency and borrow other people's spirit animals, although there are some consequences to the last one. With the power of Hawks and White Tiger combined with his own, Endeavor punches the Nomu in the face with full force. The force of the attack lands Endeavor on the ground and the Nomu on the ground, a couple of blocks away from where the fight started. Endeavor comes out of the smoke created by the impact, and with his foe defeated, he raises his left arm in victory. He then falls to the ground exhausted, being caught by Hawks, who flew back. Hawks says, I can't believe you actually used the same pose as All Might. Endeavor, laying on the ground, says, No, I used the other arm. His was the left. Hawks says, whatever, same difference. Anyway, thank you for winning. Endeavor says, I give it 0 points. I got off to a pretty horrible start. Hawk smiles and says, Sorry, but even so, this was definitely be huge. First things first, we have to do something about your injuries and stop the bleeding. Endeavor says, I can't move an inch. Call someone. And Dabi walks onto the battlefield and says, Hold on for just a minute. A lot of beyond my expectations, but well, let's do things in order. It's nice to meet you, I guess. Endeavor. I caught wind that you were here, you see. Endeavor says, You're the one who murdered Snatch. Or so I hear. The League of Villains, Dabi. A huge wall of fire is created around the battlefield by Dabi using his cremation quirk. Dabi asks, Who? Doesn't ring a bell. More importantly, let's have a little chat. Opportunities like this don't come so often. Endeavor tries to get up, but falls back down because of his injuries. Hawk says, No, you need to rest. I'll take care of him. I only have these puny feathers left, but at the very least I can stall for time. Dabi says, Hey, give me a break, would you? I just came to talk. take back the Nomu. I mean, there's no way I could win against. He starts attacking while finishing against the top two heroes when they're both on death's doorstep. At that moment, Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, lands on the ground with a mad look on her face. She says, "Sorry for taking so long. I was fighting someone in America. I got as long as I could. The rest are coming soon." Dabi says, "Great. The privately funded heroes, just as things were getting good. A little help, Ujiko?" Dabi then starts disappearing with a black substance coming out of his mouth. As Dabi leaves, he says, "Catch you later, Mr. Number 1 Hero. I'm sure we'll have another chance to talk, but until then, break a leg out there and don't go kicking the bucket, NG Todoroki." Carol jumps in, wanting to tackle him, but she hits nothing. He escaped. Mirko then lands on the scene, introducing herself. There is a short interaction between Mirko and the heroes. The Avengers and other heroes are left to clean up the damage. Here, Carol meets the young student who saved the man and lady from the White Nomu. After this, Endeavour and many other heroes go to the hospital because of the extensive damage taken. The scene where Dabi and Hawks met goes exactly the same as it does in canon after this. Anyway, that is where I'm leaving it off for today and for the year, I guess. Hope you all like this video and my channel for 2019, and I do hope you continue enjoying it through 2020. As always, if you have any suggestions, let me know, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Until next time, have a great day, everyone.